I'm in complete agreement on that. I like Alabama as well, guys. Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram will share carries in the backfield this season at Alabama. The key is a strong running game in the SEC, and Alabama has it, and that's why they're going to win a lot of games. I love the Arkansas sleeper pick. 10 returning starters on on offense. 7 returning starters on defense. I like them to make big strides and big plays. They do play at Georgia this season. That could be a huge game with a lot of offensive fireworks. I expect it to be not your typical SEC defensive showdown. And then out of the SEC East, I like Florida. I agree. Brantley, I think, does a great job, leads this team to a lot of victories this year. Florida signed 18 ESPNU top 150 recruits. They reload. New guys coming in. We'll be seeing We'll be projecting draft picks for this Florida team pretty quick when some of these freshmen get onto the field. Deontay Thompson back at wide receiver, Emmanuel Moody, Chris Rainey at the running back positions. I think Florida's still stacked, but I think Alabama wins the SEC championship again and goes to the BCS, but I don't think Alabama goes undefeated.
Yeah, I'd actually agree with that too. I mean, especially if what you guys say they're going to have to play Florida twice. It's so tough to play Florida twice and beat them twice. In the last 2 years, those two teams haven't met in the regular season, and now they do. So that's going to just make it really interesting.
And they play at Arkansas. Alabama does. They killed Arkansas last year 35-7, but like I said, a lot of returning talent at the skill positions and in the trenches, and that's huge. Watch out for that Arkansas team.
And you both picked Alabama to win the SEC. The reason I'm not picking them to win the SEC is because they lost 9 starters on defense. This is a defense that was the best in the country last year. I know they have a lot of talent in their depth chart, but I think that defense is going to take some time to gel, and I think at the end of the season, Florida's going to be the stronger team.
Now on to the best conference in college football, at least if you ask me. It's the Big Ten. And the Big Ten is coming off a successful bowl season, and I think they're going to be an equally good conference, probably even a better conference heading into this season. And who's going to be the champion at the end of this grueling grind of a Big Ten season? I think it's going to be the Iowa Hawkeyes. Why? I think they got the best defense in the Big Ten. They got the best leader in the Big Ten in Ricky Stanzi, and Kirk Ferentz is the best coach in the Big Ten. They play in the best stadium in the Big Ten, Kinnick Stadium. They're coming off the biggest win in over 50 years in this school. They had 11 wins last year, which is tied for the most ever in this school's history. How could I not pick the Hawkeyes? The Hawkeyes are going to go to Pasadena, and we're going to get our first Rose Bowl win since Forrest Evashevski did it in 1959. Hawkeyes going to the Rose Bowl. They're going to win this conference. There's a lot of good teams in this conference. I think Iowa's the best. And anybody who watches this show knows that I'm always really unbiased when it comes to picking Big Ten games that involve the Iowa Hawkeyes. When it ever comes to God's team, I always am just neutral and fair. But you guys know how I am. I can't pick against the Hawkeyes. So
very objective analysis.
Of course.
Yeah.
Only what
unfortunately, I do think that you're picking with your heart instead of your head.
Really?
I, on the other hand, I'm going to pick with my head. The past 5 years, Ohio State has been consensus top 10 team. This year, guess what? They're a top 10 team again. And the past 5 years, they won the Big Ten. Guess what? This year, they're going to win the Big Ten again. Iowa does have a very good team. We're a consensus top 10 team as well. We can give them a push. We almost beat them at Ohio State with a backup quarterback last year. But until we prove that we can live up to our preseason hype, in 2005 we didn't, in 2006 we didn't. Hopefully in 2010 we can, and I think we will have a great year. I think we will end the season in the top 10, but I still think Ohio State, with Jim Tressel and Terrell Pryor, they will be the Big Ten champions at the end of the year.
Mike?
I also have to go with Jim Tressel's Buckeyes and pick against the Hawkeyes. I'd love to pick them, but I just think there's too many question marks on the offensive line. Now, we know Ferentz was an offensive line coach at Iowa in the 80s. He was an offensive line coach for the Browns and for the Ravens. So if anyone can get a young or new offensive line ready, it's Kirk Ferentz. So I think Iowa will be prepared on that front. But Ohio State with Terrell Pryor and the running back core, Brandon St. Daniel, Herron, I just don't see them losing too many games. I don't see them losing in the Big Ten. I know last year they had a great team. They lost to Purdue. That could be possible again, but they return. Jim Tressel returns probably his best offensive line in his tenure at Ohio State. I like the Buckeyes to win it close. Iowa makes a push. I think Iowa gets at least 6 wins in the Big Ten, maybe 7. Comes just short of beating the Buckeyes.
Okay, guys, I'm going to give you one last chance to change your minds. Come over to the right side and pick Iowa to win this conference, because when we look back at this in November, you guys are just going to be like, wow, why did I not pick the Hawkeyes? So I'm going to give you one last chance. Do you guys want to change your minds?
I'm going to stick with Ohio State, but if I'm wrong, I'm going to be the happiest guy in the world. So,
well, if I'm wrong, I'm not going to be very happy. So, I don't know.
Indeed, I think Ohio State will win, but I want to give Wisconsin a little bit of credit here because they returned 16 starters on offense. Scott Tolzien, a very efficient passer. John Clay, Monty Ball, Zach Brown, tailback by committee. They're going to have a lot of power there. They return all their starting offensive linemen. They return 4 guys at linebacker who all have experience. Mike Taylor might miss the first game against UNLV, but a lot of experience there. Their only weakness, in my opinion, is their secondary, but a great team in Wisconsin. When they come to Iowa City, that'll be a battle. I think we'll beat them for the Heartland Trophy. Brett Bielema, Barry Alvarez, former Hawkeyes. But I like Iowa, like I said, to finish second. Wisconsin, a close third.
And Wisconsin did give us a good game last year. And another team that gave us a good game, as we all know, is Michigan State. That was a great game. I've loved watching the replays on Big Ten Network all summer. And I think Michigan State has the talent to make a push. I don't think for the Big Ten title, but I think they could be in the 4th or maybe even 3rd slot in the Big Ten. They lost 5 games last year by just 1 score. They were very close last year. They returned a lot of talent this year. They could be a dark horse in the Big Ten.
And I like that you mentioned Michigan State because Mark D'Antonio has brought consistency to this program. It wasn't there when Bobby Williams was there. It wasn't there under John L. Smith. He's taken him to 3 straight bowl games. I like him to go to 4 straight.
Yeah, Michigan State, Kirk Cousins.
Looked like you wanted to say something.
I know.
So.
Kirk Cousins, this was in an article in the Press Citizen about a month ago, wanted to come to Iowa, but we offered the scholarship to Marvin McNutt. So you know when he comes back to Kinnick Stadium, he grew up going to Iowa Hawkeye games with his grandparents. You know when he comes to Kinnick Stadium, he's going to want revenge from last season and get a big win in the place that wouldn't give him a scholarship. So Michigan State's going to come in here hungry, ready, and trust me, I'm sure in this whole offseason and in preparation, they've been thinking about how close they were to beating a top 10 rated Iowa team last year at Spartan Stadium, and they want revenge at Kinnick this year.
And that was a very good scholarship spent because Marvin McNutt ended up saving us against Michigan State last year.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
Oh, the irony. It's, you know, I like Kirk Cousins, and I just kind of feel bad for him because that's going to be 2 straight years now. He's going to lose to Iowa. He's not going to get that win in Kinnick Stadium. So, that's all right.
still get a
That's all right,
though.
though. I'm happy. If you got any comments on what you've heard tonight, uiowaist@gmail.com. That's your email. So for Mike Rabon, Jake Burgers, I'm Alex Solsma. Good night and go Hawks. College football season is finally here again. We're picking conference champions on this edition of Incompetent Sports Talk. Is that good or no?
That'll do.
Okay. That'll do, pig. That'll do, as the same babe.